A lot of people think that when you're emaciated that you need to start eating protein. The importance is understanding the acid side of chemistry is where man has been on. And we've had many discussions about this, that the body is a base or an alkaline dominant body. And when you start consuming acid-forming foods, which is foods totally outside of the vertebrae of the Homo sapien, we as a species cannot consume beans and grains and animal meats and milks. We do not have the body for it. We do not have the consciousness for it. And this only serves to acidify, to fill the body full of mucus, pain, and suffering. And you can't continue to eat these foods and think that this is some type of health. When someone thinks that going back and eating proteins is healthier than eating fruits and berries and salads, then they're deficient in their understanding. They were lied to. They're not very aware because they have lost their ability to look up and say, you know what? Obviously it's the foods that's killing us, because that's what man has been eating. If you ignore what you're eating, what you're breathing, what you put on your skin, and what you're drinking, you're ignoring basic facts. And if you ignore that and then you have problems, health problems, don't be mad. Don't be mad, because you're the one creating this. So this video is really for those parents and for those that are dealing with this excessive thinness. You can't get scared over that, because you must understand the same system that's causing the acne, that's causing tumors, that's causing the suppression of the thyroid or the adrenals, causes blood sugar and the like. It's the same system that has caused cancers and everything else. That's the same system that causes malabsorption. Malabsorption is when the lymphatic system in the small bowel wall, and including the colon as well, becomes stagnant. When your lymphatic system becomes stagnant, where do we look to? And you YouTubers are so smart. I love you guys so much. You know immediately you're going to walk to the kidneys. When you're 18 years old, when you're 20 years old, when you're 30 years old, you can take a kidney weakness and adrenal gland weakness to the bank. And especially the younger you are, the more serious this can be. So what people don't understand is we are consuming chemistry that is foreign, or what they call out of harmony, with the Homo sapien. And the evidence is obvious. Studies after studies on protein diets like man is eating has yielded nothing but cancer, GI tract cancer, and the World Health Organization has brought this out. So when you have health organizations that are really not 100% honest and stuff, that are still bringing this out, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty strong. So it's enough to say that the people out there have to wake up and get with this. That when you have lymphatic problems, it comes with an array of many symptoms. From malabsorption, your adrenals can be down, your skin can be down, your thyroid can be down. You can have multiple systems down, because the sewer system flows around every cell of the human body. And when that becomes stagnant acid, sewage, imagine your sewage from your toilet not flushing when you flush it, and people keep throwing poop into the toilet. You can imagine what that would be like, both in odor and in toxemia, acidosis. You know, I think it's funny. Over at these big lakes that we have in Florida here, we're having a lot of blue-green algae, and of course chemists and those people in environmental issues consider blue-green algae as toxic. And I'm thinking, well, you could get that at the health food store. You know, these are sort of the things that man keeps consuming things because he doesn't want to face the fact that what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, and what you put on your skin is how you either build your body's health or how you break it down. And all that can be broken down to either is that chemistry having a predominant base reaction in the body after it's metabolized and all that, or digested down, however you wish to look at the ash and all that, or does it have an acid effect? Those foods that have an acid effect are everything outside of fruits, berries, melons, and salads. Almost every one of them. Even your quinoa and millet, you know, they're base grains, but they also are complex sugars, and complex sugars not properly metabolized will create more acidosis. So when you're excessively thin and you put someone on this program, or you have skin problems and you're not fat in the first place, you're going to get a little skinny. No one dies when they're consuming fruits, berries, and melons. No one dies from that. People die when they consume proteins on these programs. You know, when you put a young man like that who's cleaned up their acne pretty good and been on the fruits, and you say they need proteins, and you put them back on these protein diets, not only will this come back unless they really cleaned it up, but then you break down their kidneys even more. Now you face the possibility of tumor formation. The ignorant abounds out there when it comes to health, and this is true in nursing, and it's true in all levels. Pharmaceutical reps, all these things like this. A lot of ignorance when it comes to health and wellness. And the allopathic community sits on the top of ignorance. You cannot look to an allopathic physician for advice in health and wellness, or you're putting your life in your own hands. And you got to wake up from this sort of thing, because that's not their expertise. Their expertise is the field they created. They created the illusion called diseases, and they created the symptoms, the treatment of that. Well, they didn't create the symptoms. They just put their name on what people are suffering from their acidic diets. And it's funny that no matter what condition you have out there, I don't care what it is, if you put someone on fruits, berries, and melons and a good herbal detox regenerative program, they can fix it all. They can fix it all. You have some of our cases like Hildy and some of the others where extreme thinness, extreme emaciation, where now they're having mutations and now their life is back. The acids are mostly out. The body's rebuilding. The muscles are coming back. That's what you have to understand for those parents that are working on their young ones, or even their teenagers. You could get thin. And for you guys doing this, I understand that you have to kind of not hide this, but you know, it's tough with parents that are ignorant, that don't want to learn. It's tough out there. So I'm doing this video for the parents of these people, so you can look at these videos and understand your kids are getting smarter than almost anyone else in this world on health and health issues. We highly recommend you view these videos and understand what malabsorption is and how serious that is. We take malabsorption and thinness extremely serious, but there's only one way to fix it. And you can't eat to fix it, except for fruits, berries, and melons. You can't eat to fix this problem. You can only eat fruits and berries and melons to fix this, and get herbs in to get the kidneys to filter, the adrenals up, to get that to happen, and to start hydrating the human body, because you must understand what happens under the acid sky. When the body becomes acidic, it becomes cationic, and that is agglomulation, dehydration, where everything begins to stick and become hardened. You start to see things get red, inflamed, tissue breaking, ulcerations breaking down. These are acids. And acids take no prisoners, and they will take you down to death. Fruits, berries, and melons, however, are on the base dominant side, hydrating and bringing this into a state of wellness, so we can get this filtering, this stagnation of this gigantic sewer system miles long, and this includes interstitially in the gut wall, where it controls malabsorption or not. We have to clean all this up. Because if you do not, you will be deficient. You won't even absorb your fatty acids. You have multiple problems. By supplementing these things will not rebuild you and will not get you into a state of wellness. You might become a little symptom-free at times, but you must deal with the cause of these problems and fix the cause of these problems. But I just wanted to do this video on excessive thinness and those that fight this seriousness, because this is serious. But you can go up rectally, you can go a lot of ways, but to be honest with you, malabsorption is malabsorption, and it's in the wall of the small and large intestines. And in the wall is the cells that make up the wall. You know, when you have a tube, you have to look at what makes up the tube. Well, what makes up the intestinal tubes, just like everything else in the body, are cells. And cells eat and poop, as friendly as that is. Cells eat and eliminate, just like every single thing else on this planet. Plants eat and eliminate, animals eat and eliminate, stones eat and eliminate. There is a process constantly of consumption and elimination. One has to take that consideration in understanding the human body. Just because a medical modality has not come to that understanding yet doesn't mean no one else can. Matter of fact, if they don't get more in line with that, which they're coming, but if they don't, then they're going to fall way behind the world, because you can't continue down the same idiocy of treating with toxic chemicals and killing people. You can't walk with your chest out being the #1 killer of humans on the planet. That's a huge oxymoron. So you've got to get with truth and reality and what that means in health and wellness. And chemistry rules this level, magnetics and physics. So just understanding a little bit through these videos should help to understand that why we put you on fruits, berries, and melons. The worst mistake a person can make is thinking that fruits are deficient in chemistry. That's a huge error, and especially the berries, because that's where that's where nature's chemistry is. The type of chemistry, you also have to understand the type of chemistry that is designed for the human body, for the Homo sapien. And you would not understand that if you thought the Homo sapien was a caveman. If you think the Homo sapien is a caveman dweller that's eating on dinosaur legs and stuff, you have a misconception of the human being. The human being is like the primate. We're all tropical species. We originated in the tropics, and we are tropical species. We might be living in Alaska and Siberia and some of these places that are hostile, but look at what you have to do, and look at the diet you have to maintain, and look at how old you look when you're young. It's horrible. It's a nightmare. So the quick road to death is proteins. If you want a high road to death, it's the proteins. We are carbon beings. Nitrogen is definitely essential to all of life. It's why it dominates the air, but that's more the amino acid chain. And remember this, when someone says you need protein, you immediately know that person has no clue. Because the proper word would be amino acids. It wouldn't be proteins. The body can't even use protein. So to make a claim that the body needs proteins is coming from a position of unawareness. The position of awareness is that why there's digestion of proteins and what that is to bring that back through the polypeps and the peps down to the amino acids. And the use of hydrochloric acid and pepsin and then chymo and then trypsin. How all that worked out. Understanding the pH factor, and you learn that in class. The duodenal pH is essential to be 7.5 to 8. You have to have a very alkaline duodenal pH if you want to activate trypsin, amylase, and all these other digestive enzymes. If you're not, if you have low bicarbonate in the bile duct or the pancreatic duct and a very low pH, you just lost digestion right there. So if that's a factor, along with malabsorption, you're down even more. So there's a lot to it that one has to understand, but you don't have to even understand that if you just eat fruits, berries, and melons, because it's already in the mix. The supreme one, the one that created all this, everything is created to work. As soon as we think the Creator is ignorant, that's where man went big awry. Because there is no ignorance in the Creator. It is all working synonymously and together. But understanding excessive thinness is also understanding a little bit more about digestion, pancreatic problems. I remember I had a young lady in here. She was only 15 years old. And her mother brought her in and sat in front of me, kind of pompous a little bit, and said, my daughter's got candida. I want you to get that out of her. So I looked at the daughter and I said, well, Mom, your daughter has a much more serious problem. And her mother looked at me like, what? And I said, look how thin she is. And boy, that daughter just took off crying. Boy, she was crying, I said, you eat all you want, don't you? And she said, I do. She said, they call me anorexic and bulimic. She says, but I eat all I want. And I said, I know, you have a pancreatic and probably malabsorption. And her mother's going, what? And I said, that's how we train ourselves to understand. She'd probably been to many medical doctors. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And so fixed her up, got the kidneys filtering, got her up, got her absorbing, got a little muscle on her, and she's now a model in New York City. So that's the kind of thing that you have to look at, is looking at people and sizing them up and knowing how to fix them. You know, it's not enough when your parents sit back and say, oh, you're too thin, you can't eat that, there's no nutrition, you're starving yourself, and you're fighting that sad thing. Because it is up to your parents to knowledge up a little bit. We got to understand that there's a process to this, and I give the analogy. When you wake up to extreme skin problems or fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme's, all the systemic acidosis that's ripping you, pain, redness, ulcerations, all of this, you're simply waking up to acidosis. And it's like having your car in a major wreck. Your physical body is your car. And we use this analogy all the time. Is that when your car is in a major wreck, it doesn't look too good. So we take it into a mechanic shop, a body shop. They clean it up, sand it down, fill it in, rebuild it, put new parts on it, and now it's new again. Wait till your children are through this. Help them through their darkest hours of detoxification and regeneration. Help them with positive affirmations and understanding their processes. And then you're going to have your children back, because now they can communicate with someone now on their level.